Hey everyone, and welcome to the next edition of the Snapchat. As always, I'm joined today by none other than Cozy Snap. Cozy, CULL Obsidian came out this week, and I gotta tell you, I was really excited for CULL Obsidian, maybe because we've had so much text creep over the last little while. Marvel Snap, where each card seems to be getting progressively more complicated. I didn't mind having a big, chunky dude that really was just simplistic and just playable. I need to know, what were your thoughts on CULL Obsidian this week?
Yeah, I loved him for the game, hated him for content, right? I was like, title, CULL Obsidian is a 10 power card. Like there wasn't a lot to say on him, but I like that. I think we've had so many complicated, crazy things come out that sometimes just like a good stat stick is cool. Closest thing that we've had to like a vanilla card come out in quite some time. And really just open up the wide variety of flexibility that can work with the guy altogether. You know, I think when we both were rating him, we liked him. And then when you look at him more, it's like, he's just 410. That's what the guy does. So Alex, tell me in general, man, what'd you think of CULL? What were your thoughts? Did they hold up to what we previously ranked him?
Hell yeah, they did. I loved them. I loved CULL Obsidian. I mean, I thought he was so playable. I thought that he was relatively easy to have his condition met. And the meta agrees, running a 54% win rate, a 0.23 cube rate, and 15% of the meta. People were high on CULL Obsidian. People wanted CULL Obsidian. And I think this is a good message for Second Dinner, by the way. Grandmaster, super complicated ass card. I was excited for it. I liked it. Not much meta share. People are like, I don't want, that's too confusing, right?
Yeah.
And then you get something like CULL Obsidian, straight stats, big chonky boy, and people want to play him.
Yeah.
And he works perfectly in a number of different shells. I really liked this card a lot.
For sure. I mean, I think Thanos fatigue is becoming real. I did see more Thanos than I ever have, ever. And I get it, because it's just like the safest way to play this new card, things like that, right? I was shocked. I was shocked how most of the time I could play CULL if I wanted to, like most of the time. And like, gosh, man, they can only shung so many things. A lot of deck lists that, I feel like CULL came out around the perfect time. Like if he came out last year, there wasn't enough, like there's great synergistic decks that kind of want to pull him into it. He adds that flavor. Boring card, but definitely worked out, man. I was definitely satisfied with how CULL ended up, in my meta play.
At 10 power, he's a lane winner. He's a lane winner. And yeah, if you bait out Shang-Chi, then that's fine. But the other thing that I was doing is I was playing him in Zabu-based decks too. I was able to play Shang-Chi and CULL Obsidian.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing about that is I was attacking two lanes with significant flips of power. And the card that, like, honestly, we talked about it last week on the Snapchat, and I feel like we were the only ones that brought up this card, Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler was a god tier inclusion with CULL Obsidian, because when you moved Nightcrawler, the play of CULL Obsidian considered the move prior. So when you move Nightcrawler, on the same turn, you can then play CULL Obsidian into Nightcrawler's new location before it actually resolves, which is incredible. Yeah. Absolutely incredible. And so I was playing decks where I'd move Nightcrawler, Shang-Chi one location, move Nightcrawler into the location that I want to play CULL Obsidian, and play it down with Zabu on the board. And it was so much versatile power. I loved it. And I felt like you just needed Nightcrawler, and you could attack whatever you wanted, however you wanted, with massive power.
Yeah, so it's funny. Back, I want to say like 6 months ago, maybe more. It's probably even longer. I did this like new style of zoo deck, right? It was right when Jean Grey came out, and you had like the Echo in there. And then like the whole premise of the deck was before Pro X got nerfed, but you had Nightcrawler, Jeff. It worked with Elsa because they were buffed up. And you could essentially like move Nightcrawler or Jeff, then you cap out the lane with X. And I try to bring something like that back, but I like what you're saying there, because same premise. You have Nightcrawler, he's a safe play, then you can move him, slam on the CULL. And I tried to build that in. I called it the Big Power Club. I tried to build that in again with CULL Obsidian. I had the Professor X still in there, believe it or not, but you had things like Martyr in there, which is crazy to think about, but Martyr being a 1/5, you could play CULL on there. Professor X always felt really cool to play. You can lock in the Martyr. You can kill, you can do just CULL's lane. Listen, armor is great. It has that in the deck, but Professor X, nothing's killing that, right? Nothing's killing those cards in there. And so it had this really unique and cool synergy. I had Zero as the other card, and you could even go crazy and go Titania. I felt like you needed about 3/1 cost to feel reliable about CULL a lot of the time, but you could get away with it with 2. But I love the flexibility that Nightcrawler brought in that deck too, because you can move it around X location, pad up that X location, and then go from there. So definitely a fun synergy there.
Just like you mentioned there, like I liked playing him behind Storm, because you can't Shang-Chi into a flooded location, right? And That's kind of what Jessica Jones was doing. Jessica Jones was playing it behind there. She wasn't Shang-Chi anyways, but the idea was like you had this big vertical pop behind the storm, which is kind of tough to kind of attack. Not gappable via Doctor Doom. So I liked doing that as well, but I honestly really preferred to hold him for later in the game. And in the circumstances where I played him down and he got Shang-Chi, I feel like I'm like, well, you just wasted your Shang-Chi. Here comes my Blob, or here comes my Thanos, or whatever, right? And it's also worth noting here, Cozy kind of mentioned it before, but currently one of the absolute top performing shells, and I'll show it on the screen here, is going to be a Thanos Lockjaw based deck. It's Jeff, Lockjaw, Kyera, Black Swan making this list, Shang-Chi, Supergiant, Cull Obsidian, Vision, Blob, Thanos, Scar, and Magneto, running a 57.6% win rate as of recording at a 0.35 cube rate. Pretty damn solid. And the reason why I bring up this deck, Cozy, is because it has pretty much every card that's been released over the last month. It had Kyera, it had Black Swan, had Cull Obsidian, had Supergiant. So all of these cards are finding their way into Thanos deck after Thanos deck after Thanos deck. So I like that you bring up the Thanos fatigue.
Hey man, Black Order Thanos, right? Like that's what they were probably going for there. Funny enough, that list I had in my Cull Obsidian video, I replaced Supergiant. It was a flavor pick, but I did Devil Dinosaur. It's like that just... Why would I not want Devil into that deck? Just worked well. You had the Scar discounted early, all that. But yeah, definitely very strong list. And I know we got this a little bit with Supergiant. Dude, I was just having so much fun slamming down Cole, slamming down Atuma, slamming down Zero Century, slamming down Warpath. Like 10 after 10 after 10. And there was just so much. And then I had X in there because, you know, you could just feel so much safer about that. The armor play always felt good to go on 2. You know, you don't get to do Kyera because there are all these 4 costs. But being able to play any of these 10 power cards or Shang-Chi with Zabu, it becomes possible to win, you know, with these decks, man. And Crossbones is just, he's dead.
Crossbones is unbelievably dead. And you know what? The other thing that's worth mentioning here is you're bringing up 10 power after 10 power after 10 power. A huge winner is Scar. Scar is a remarkably massive winner with this release, right? Like, and Scar was good enough. Like, Scar did make lists. Last season card, like we weren't that excited about him, right? We liked him. He was good. He did his thing. He ended up in Thanos, as everything does, apparently. Yeah. But now, with this additional 410 power card, Scar becomes much easier to play because now you have a Cull Obsidian, which is easy to play, and Scar becomes easier to play as a result. And so I really like what's happening with Scar, kind of these buffs by association, which we talk about all the time, where some cards seem to age like wine, right? Scar's a good example of this.
So yeah, man, I mean, ultimately we saw Scar get love on that front. Way easier to play him. Even Zulus to some fronts there. I saw that. Obviously, Thanos is going to be the clear winner. And then moving forward, he's just going to work as a threat and snap, especially for decks that already want to play a lot of these one-cost cards. So I welcome the addition to Cull Obsidian, and I think he's cool to have in the game. Would like to see more basic cards, you know, thrown in every now and then.
Yeah, I like him a lot. And Cozy, I got to ask, star rating, what are you giving him?
Ooh, probably a 4. Probably a 4. I don't want to give him more than that just because it feels like, you know, there is limitations to him. Maybe 4.5. I mean, like, who are we kidding? Whatever. But I think 4 ultimately, yeah.
Yeah, I have 4 written down. I think is an absolutely perfect 4-star card. Yep. Like he's not going to break the game by any means, but he is very strong to play. You want him in the decks where he works well in, and he has this very wide application base, right? Supergiant was much more narrow. Still very powerful, but much more narrow. Whereas Cull Obsidian, I mean, you could even play him in zoo decks. You can play him in all these different types of decks, and I really like the card. 4-star, very, very strong card. Happy with this release. And that brings us to cards on the rise, Cozy. With the release of Cull Obsidian, we joked about Scar getting buffed up, but there's a whole bunch of cards that are seeing a resurgence in Marvel Snap. The meta is shifting, and now we're going to be going through the meta risers in order from cost. So starting at 1 cost, Cozy, I'll give you the floor. What is one of your 1 cost risers in the current meta?
Hey, buddy, for the 1 cost slot, you know, I feel like 1 costs are at a good area right now. That we do have a lot of them out there. I didn't want to pick like Agent 13 because of the couples event or whatever. Iceman. I feel like Iceman's finally getting his value back. You know, again, Spider-Ham definitely is can be a much more competitive options at times, but it's been feeling great to just disrupt your opponent, man. There's a lot of combo heavy decks out there. There's a lot of things that you can just mess up massively, right? You hit that Zabu, you hit something that they just have to play on curve, and that could be a game winner even though you don't see it happen. So Iceman has been my kind of on the rise 1 cost again.
All I know is that when people play Iceman against me, it pisses me right off. Like, I'm like, damn it, how dare you hit my Sarah? Or how dare you hit my Legion? Or it always hits something that I actually need. How dare you hit my Leech? And then I'm like, wait a minute, I deserve it. And then ultimately, like, Iceman with I think Black Swan brought Iceman back. Black Swan, the bounce, the Falcons, and all the types of things. They're bringing that idea of repeatedly playing Iceman. Because playing Iceman 2 or 3 times feels better than playing Spider-Ham 2 or 3 times. Because you're often hitting the same piggy. Right? Hit piggy. But Iceman can't even hit a 6 cost. So every single time Iceman comes down, someone's getting pumped. So that's why I really like this card. It's a great call out, Cozy.
I get mad if he even hits a card from like the hub that I got. I'm like, screw you, man. I liked that Gambit or whatever it was from there. But also, if you just think about it, man, 1 energy commitment, 2 power on the board, plus just that disruption. It really snowballs for sure.
Yeah, and it's kind of sad that it kind of fell off completely, even from like tempo style decks and stuff like that. Like, he's still just a good 1-drop, right? But hey, Snap's been getting greedier and greedier, so I'm not surprised. But we're gonna move on to the next card for me, and it's Quinjet. We got to talk about Quinjet, and it might be a surprise to some, but Quinjet has had a resurgence thanks to some degree Helicarrier actually being more legitimate than people might give it credit for. Helicarrier's buff, Helicarrier's change. Basically, it's Triskelion, and Quinjet loves that. Gives you a lot of additional value, and I don't want to kind of give away one of our 4 costs potentially, but Loki is making a massive comeback. And what's interesting about Loki is traditional Loki actually cut Quinjet because it felt like a win more style card. But now new Loki actually prefers having Quinjet in the list. Kind of crazy.
Let's skip to it for just a sec. Like, why not, right? Let's talk Loki then. Like, I feel like I like where Loki's at. I get it. I get he's tough. I mean, we have cards like Shang-Chi that exist in the world. But what I like about it is it's not this list to abuse Loki. It's this list now that has that Devil Dinosaur, and it has like these other play lines that you can go with. Personally, it's what I took up towards the end of my Infinite run because it was fun to play. I enjoyed playing it again. Destroy is everywhere, man. And I love getting Loki. And you have like maybe 4 or 5 cards to replace, and you get that Nolan Death, and you're like, sweet justice, I'm ready to go, right? And so, yes, Loki definitely on the rise. I think he's going to rise more with some cards coming out in the future. We're having cards that feed into your hand more. We have cards, like Mockingbird and things like that coming out. So Loki definitely is the 4-cost winner here for sure.
And I don't want to derail it completely, but I had this thought, like Loki got nerfed, right? And people were like, Loki is dead. And it just, boom, it fell off a cliff. No one was playing Loki at all. And then like nothing really changed. Like the meta shifts here and there a little bit, right? And then all of a sudden, like people just start playing Loki again. Like, oh wait, this might actually still be good. And it just kind of like crawls back into the meta, then starts to like gain more momentum and snowballing and this and that. Now people are like, wait a minute, Loki's still kind of good. And it almost makes me wonder about like what else has been nerfed in the past. We're just like, no, this is garbage now. We just drop it like a rock, and it's end up being like, and Glenn's out there like, hey guys, it's still good. Like, I don't know what's wrong with you, right? Don't you feel like Loki kind of got like completely just slapped or thrown under the rug and just forgotten about? Thrown under the bus is kind of what I meant to say.
Listeners of the Snapchat, I love this because you get a little bit of taste of a deck I'm releasing. Not yet. It's not out there. The video's not, but go start playing it. I have that. I've already filmed the intro, Alex. That is my intro to my next deck guide. It's literally about, I don't know what we do about these good cards and good decks that get like 1- power on a synergy, and we're like, they're dead, and then it's still a great deck. And I brought up examples. I was like, Statue Black Bolt just started creeping back up again, but we like killed them off, and it's still like a competitive option. The one that I have, and it happens to be my 3-cost card. Guys, I'm telling you, I don't know why we wrote it off. I get Absorbing Man lost himself a point, but Brood Absorbing Man Patriot decks is so strong still. It's such a good deck still. It's not bad at all. And we have other options to throw into those decks now. It's exactly how I felt with the Absorbing Man Brood combo. I'm like, yeah, we lost a power point, but like, it's still so strong. There's so many combos, so many play lines here. 100% agree, buddy. We're going in the weirdest order of all time, but like, that is my 3-cost card here. So I'll just kick it to you. What is your 3-cost in this slot?
Yeah, we're just going to go back and forth now. I guess there's no order anymore. It's just complete chaos at this point. If you're asking me for my favorite 3-cost right now, is it fair for me to say Gladiator? I mean, Gladiator's in the Spotlight Cache. I have loved playing this card over and over and over again. That extra 1 power they gave it was just chef's kiss, because not only was it perfect for the power of the card landing, but it also allows him to trade more effectively. And the other thing is decks are getting greedier, and you're seeing these bounce decks where they're playing like, Beast, Iceman, Black Swan, and all this stuff. It's like, hey, guess what? Pull something out, boom, pump it, right? That Spider-Ham ain't pumping anymore. Oh, it still reveals and everything, but you know what I mean? It's like, no, Spider-Ham, only one time for you. Oh, Iceman, boom, only one time for you. I really like the idea that like a lot of cards don't effectively trade with Gladiator, and Gladiator's had this massive ramp up ever since Chavez got taken out. Surprise, surprise, Chavez got reduced, and Gladiator is just fist bumping.
Yep. And I hate to say it, guys, guess what? Spotlight week, we got Gladiator X23. So Destroy and Gladiator about to get more and more play. Even though they're good, they're going to become even better. Love the Gladiator pull. Yeah, definitely. I like when my opponent plays Gladiator half the time because I'm just like, I feel good about I stare at my deck tracker. I'm like, which one's being highlighted here? And then just celebrate from there. So like the 3-cost pick for sure, man. 2 costs can be a little tougher. I feel like a lot of 2 costs. 3 costs are the most awkward cards at the moment. 2 is in a decent place. For 2, I picked Armor. Mainly because I wanted to show off this variant. But also, I feel like because of Shang-Chi, right, it's just not enough anymore to hope for the Kair with the 6 cost or to the play lines we're trying to do. Armor is, say what you will. I think I love the more it's now kind of adjusted to the game. Kair and Armor's different roles. I love it. And it's mainly that Armor's 2 cost. I love playing her on 2. It just feels like it's like a non-committal, like, hey, I'm going to give myself protection. I get you can give it to your opponent a little bit. I've seen way more armors out there because of the rise of heavy 4-cost power, thanks to CULL. And I'm playing her again in a lot of my decks just to feel good about my later plays.
You're exactly correct. And I think that the second dinner needs a pat on the back for the balance between Armor and Kyera and how you decide between the 2 in the deck. Okay, listen, a lot of high evil players are just defaulting to Kyera. I don't even think that's always correct. Yeah. I actually think you're seeing better win rates in taking out Kyera, adding Armor in, especially when Destroy gains in popularity. Because when Destroy gains in popularity, Armor becomes an offensive weapon just as much as it's a defensive weapon, right? Kyera can't do that. Kyera can't ruin a Destroy player's game. Armor can ruin a Destroy player's game. So I think it's really important when you're deck building and designing based on what you're seeing in your pocket meta that you consider, wait a minute, maybe I shouldn't just copy pasta this deck off the internets. Maybe I should actually consider Kyera out, Armor in, based on my pocket meta. Like, it's just, to me, that's how you gain cubes. That's how you get to infinite. That's how you rank up.
Yeah, dude. Two Armor on a Destroy lane is the fastest way to get 2 cubes. You snap with the knowledge that you're going on that Deadpool lane because most of the time they get greedy, right? They play the X23 and you're like, he's going to play Deadpool and then play whatever, right? Like, you have a little bit of room to kind of sneak that in there. 100% agree, man. That's why Armor's on my rise list. Who's your 2?
My 2, I have 2 I want to talk about. The first is Falcon. Falcon, you've seen a big resurgence in, and I like this a lot because Falcon always felt like ghetto Beast. Like, it was just like, oh, Beast is just always better all the time. Why would you ever play Falcon?
Wish.com.
They nerfed Beast, they changed Beast, and that gave Falcon a little bit more room to breathe, but it also gave Black Swan a little bit of room to breathe. And you're seeing Falcon Black Swan being very synergistic as well. A lot of the major combo pieces were turn 5 Black Swan and Falcon style plays. I just like to see that Falcon's getting some love. I've always liked this card, but it always felt like it wasn't quite good enough compared to the other pieces. Like Original Beast was always better than Falcon. Yeah. It's good to see it making a comeback.
Yeah, I agree. I think you could almost throw Beast in here with them just because of the new play lines that have it. And it's also just a lot of the 1-cost cards we have now. Like, there are just 1-cost cards that are great, and you want to keep playing them, right? And Falcon has that identity to a card that I used to never, when the game first came out, I never played Falcon, man. Even on my bounce list, I'd go Beast route or whatever, right? Like, Falcon was like, it's too confusing. Like, I definitely agree. Falcon has really settled into his role in Snap, and I love it. Now, we've bounced from 1 to 4 to 3 to 2. We ultimately land on 5, Alex. Hit me back to back. Who's your riser on the 5?
Well, you just skipped one of my 2s, but we'll come back to that later then. Because on number 5, how do I not bring up Sarah? I mean, we just had ourselves Infinity Conquest week, and Sarah really, really took hold of that week. And it seems like every single time you have an Infinity Conquest, everyone's like, wait a minute, I'm not laddering with Sarah. But whoa, when I take Sarah into Conquest, it's absolutely disgustingly good. And then sure enough, you start to realize, like, wait a minute, I can actually ladder with Sarah. Sarah is actually good. Yeah. And she remains a core component. So many decks, the tech-centric decks, but also the greedier combo-centric decks, Sarah is absolutely god tier.
I mean, listen, I don't know if we're supposed to be like projecting the future, but there's 2 cards, no question, 5 costs that will be good pretty soon here. And you got to start with obvious. Guys, next 2 weeks, baby. Next 2 weeks, it is discard season. You got the Corvus, you got the Midnight. They're going to be everywhere. Stature. is damn near going to just be value city, and I can't wait for that. I think it's really going to be a card on the rise that you could get ahead of. But if it wasn't going to be, the projection there, I do think Sandman. I think he's creeping up. I think he is becoming. You're looking at the decks that are good. Man, you shut down Thanos. Man, you shut down a lot of these cards that you've got the combos to go over the top with, and we're going to start to have things with Corvus. I think Sandman's also going to be a riser as well.
That's a ballsy call, because I feel like Second Dinner intentionally keeps this card under, like, keeps it bad. I feel like they always want Sandman to be kind of bad. Because remember when it got buffed, it was a 4-1, then it went to, was it 5-5?
Yeah.
It was 5-5, right? But it was legit enough power-wise that they were like, it was getting a lot of play. It's like, there's like, whoa, our game sucks now.
It reminds me of Leech, that they're just good cards that don't get played a lot, but when they do, they're good cards. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want them to be played a lot, but it doesn't mean they're not good. Leech was the same bucket. People didn't play Leech, but he was still good. Sandman's kind of the same vein, as long as you have the deck set up for in advance.
And there's definitely another 5 cost that's been creeping back up in the meta, and I absolutely love to see it, and it's Devil Dinosaur, an absolute huge winner of the resurgence of the Loki-style decks, because new Loki is running a lot of hand generation, and Devil Dinosaur is a key component. Look at this split. Oh my god, cozy. The Rainbow Kirby Crackle inked. It's too beautiful. I can't even handle myself. Oh my gosh, completely derailed. Audio listeners, this is a absolutely god tier split of Devil Dinosaur. It is an inked mecha dinosaur. His what is that? Is that like a throat cannon? I don't even know what it is. It's reaching into the sky, crackle all over the place. Cozy, this is beautiful. It matches the Infinity Stones of our topics.
Oh my gosh, can we just rename the card to Throat Cannon? That's a much better cinematic name. Like, oh no, guys, Throat Cannon's here. Thanos is screwed. Yeah, man. This one's I love Devil, because like I go back to just like I have so many good splits of Devil, and when he's back on top, I'm like, hey, I get to play it again. So yeah, definitely good pick there. Devil is rising up again. Thanks a bit to Loki, but also just in himself.
Not to bring up Pokemon again, but that variant kind of reminds me of, like, it's like, Devil Dinosaur, use Throat Cannon. It's like
yeah, right. Oh, dude, Charizard versus Devil Dino. That's a fight of the ages, man. That could be the next epic rap battle on 2005 YouTube.
All right, we got to go to 6 cost. Cozy, I'll give you the floor. Tell me about the rising 6 costs in Marvel Snap.
Yeah, so I feel like 6 cost cards, like, they're all have been in a really good place per se lately, and we've seen things like, I wanted to go with Hela because, we've seen way more Hela, and it's becoming much more dependable, and I think ultimately that's just where I land, right? I think if we're just talking about cards on the rise, it's Thanos because he's everywhere, but Hela's gone to being a, like, meme card to being pretty damn good. I've seen a couple people like, I tried her out, she still sucks. It's like, yeah, you kind of just, you lost the coin flip there. But over time, man, it is so tough to stop Hela. It's just tough. There's so many options for her to be played and where to play, and the synergy with Black Knight, I had to go Hela.
Yeah, Hela was my top choice as well. Hela's incredible, and it's funny because, like, so I was keeping a close eye on the statistics of Hela as a deck. Phenomenal cube rate. What was crazy, it was running a 55% win rate, which is astronomical for Hela. It should never be that high.
So crazy.
And then what happened was like, I covered it, a bunch of people covered it. Hela being good kind of got out there. And you know what happened to the stats? Just like right off a cliff, right? And then it's funny because now it's kind of going back up. It's a perfect example of this. We see this in Move, we see it in Hela. It's like if you just pick up a Hela deck and you're like, bro, I'm just gonna play Hela, and like they snap on you and you're not prepared to, like, okay, wait, I don't have Hela in my hand. Do I stay to see if I draw in Hela on turn 6, or do I leave? You're just donating cubes. Going into like turn 6 and not snapping when you have Hela, or like the snap variation of Hela is very important in the way, like, you have to build that experience profile. The stats literally tanked because people that had never traditionally played Hela started playing Hela again and didn't quite figure out how to navigate the actual play of the deck itself. So it's interesting to see.
It's the same thing with any time a junk deck gets on the rise, right? Like I had this one where it was like Magic in there to really make sure you get the pop off, right? But when you see the list, you're like, oh, cool list, bro, I'm going in, And it's like, wait, you don't know that. And then they go and they take but like, in those plays, you have to be super methodical in like what you're trying to do and how you're trying to push cards on their side. And when you play Hazmat and when do you play Grandma, whatever it is, right? That it's the same exact example. Hela, even Mr. Negative to a degree is in that kind of list of people just like, screw it, I'm going. I'm going to top deck them or whatever, and that's, where people start to lose the cubes.
It's funny because, like, I actually saw this the other week with my my Super Giants deck, the deck that I had with the Super Giant and Invisible Woman and stuff. I was playing against it quite often because I guess it gained in popularity and stuff. And I went to get someone. I'm like, who the hell plays Titania on turn 1? Like, someone just threw out Titania on turn 1, and then I realized, like, wait, this is my deck. I'm like, you're not supposed to do that, man. What? You're not supposed to just throw Titania out on the board. What kind of psychotic play is this? You're supposed to play it like at the end of the Invisible Woman stack, right? Like, it's like, what are you doing? Dude, it's so funny.
Yeah, dude, there's so many cards like that. Like Squirrel Girl is another one when she's in list with like Dazzler. I see people like, okay, turn 1 Squirrel, let's go. I'm like, dude, no, there could be Savage Land. Like, there's so much stuff that can screw you. And so it is. It's, you know what it is? It's those people that go and they click on the video, they go right to that deck list, and they're like, hey, cool, GG. I'm a gamer now. It's like, wait, there's a good 5 minutes of information before that you should listen to, right? I always get that one comment every single video. It's like I post the video, 10 seconds into me posting the video, flex card for Blake, and I'm like, dude, I spent 20 minutes on flex cards. Like, you know, you gotta look into the research.
My favorite is when like I release a video and right off the top I'll be like, hey, you know, if you don't have Kyra, armor's a good solution, right? Like, I'm literally 6 seconds into the video, and then like literally the second comment's like replacement for Kyra ? I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah, power creep deck. Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
And then someone always responds, dude, 6 seconds, and they like timestamp 6 seconds.
Yeah, couldn't make it 7 seconds of the video, but it does. This is funny because it does matter. These cards that have very specific purposes in the deck, right? You have to play and win, and so definitely that is kind of where Hela and all of them fall into ultimately.
And to finish this off, I'm going back to the 2 cost that Cozy refuses to let me actually bring up. And it's funny because the reason why I'm so committed to this 2 cost is because I'm only bringing it up because Cozy, damn it, you're the one who brought it back. And it's Hazmat. Look at that absolutely beautiful split. It's actually, I've never seen this variant in my shop, by the way. I'm still looking for it. Unbelievable variant. Cozy, you brought back Hazmat in a big way. I mean, Luke Cage's buff brought Hazmat back in a big way, but you were one of the first to really kind of jump on top of it and make some actual spicy brews happen with it. So talk to me about Hazmat, even though it's my pick.
Yeah, it was funny because I was doing it before Luke Cage because I enjoyed, you know, like A-Bomb, I love Abomination, but it's like sometimes he's like, okay, you Scorpion him out, they just don't play the cards. Hazmat's just like, GG. Like, you just get everything you need for this last second power slam of an unsheeable card, and that was kind of the flavor. And also because I'm on this ever-ending quest of making Grandmaster great, so like, loved the Debris and Hazmat either or option, or Scorpion, followed by Grandmaster. All those felt really great together as well. You could also do it with Supergiant. There's way more plays being out there, and I don't know. I feel like people just kind of they sleep on the card, because if you look at it, there's always a good time to play Hazmat if you're prepared for it, right? So you have Luke Cage, that's one option. I get it, okay? But you can also just evaluate the situation. If they have 5 cards on their side, you have 1, you play Hazmat. Hazmat's value is no longer a 2-2, not even close, right? You're up in that way more because you're screwing their side, and most of these people aren't running Luke Cage. You're getting that lizard value a good shot. You should always be getting 2-5 value with Hazmat most of the time, like when you're playing her. Even if it's on curve for 2-4, that's good too.
Oh, always, right? And I often played her on curve, and like I was like absolutely happy with it, and it also gave me the opportunity to play the Abomination out early, stuff like that. Hazmat's a really cool card, and it's funny because no one's playing Luke Cage defensively. I'm only seeing Luke Cage being played offensively. Yeah. So when I see Luke Cage, I'm like, they're probably gonna Hazmat me because no one's playing Luke Cage right now.
Yeah.
Because of the change from a 2 cost to a 3 cost. For that record, I do like what Second is doing, making the 3 cost cards the board wide effects. It's a good touch. Yep. It's a very good touch. And Cozy, guess what? That brings us to one of our favorite topics of the day, and that's the Snapchat mailbag. We got a mailbag here, and we're starting with question number 1. And Cozy, this is a callback to you, and this is from Slice and Dice. I love that Cozy said, "Rip Cerebro," because I've been trying to play my old C2 deck for the last month, and it's an absolute dumpster fire. So many cards and fields giving and taking power, and giving you random cards that mess up your play line. Also, they killed Luke Cage for C2 and C3 decks, which used to be a slight saving grace. What do you think they could do to buff Cerebro decks so they're actually viable?
It's tough. Cerebro's tough. I feel like as long as they don't keep coming out with locations that play cards for you, like, then you're okay. You need to know if you're a Cerebro gamer, you're just a smarter gamer than everyone else. And what I mean by that is, A, you always have to adapt with new decks and go with, like, is it 2, 3, or 5, and sometimes even 4 Cerebro being really good at the moment. And get ahead of those synergies before other people are, like, whatever you want to do there. But also know, it is the life of the Cerebro gamer a little bit, right? Like, that is going to just be how it works out. Maybe they come out with a location-changing card like they had Rhino. Maybe we need one for, like, a missing slot for the 5 or the 2 or whatever it might be. It's tough. it's tough to be a Cerebro gamer because of that. And not only that, you have Red Skull, you have other things you just have to consistently be worrying about. It only gets worse. Hazmat's in there too. So it is a tough life for Cerebro gamers, but that's kind of like part of it. You reward yourself with being one of the smarter players out there.
Yeah, there's so much difficult things for Cerebro players, all the locations, and you're right. A lot of people talk about like negative zone and sewer system and stuff like that, but what it really is, it's like X Mansion that you're like, oh look, great, thanks for giving me like, you know, the White Queen, which now is 6 power and I'm screwed, and you know what I mean, like it completely ruins everything. Or Xandar, Shuri's Lab. There's so many examples where you just can't do anything.
I'm still in good relations with like Tarnix, like we're Terex, Tarnix, whatever it is. I'm doing okay there. X Mansion, I've lost hope. At this point, X Mansion, I feel like I'm never the guy on the other side. Even like a value, like a Black Bolt or something. Every single time, it's like I get like a, you know, I don't know, a Mojo. I guess that's not the worst example, but yeah, me and X Mansion, we're not talking anymore.
Yeah, I know. I'll get Mojo, they'll get Infinite, like literally 95% of the time. It's every like time. I'm trying to pretend like this is not the truth. Most tilting location in Marvel Snap by far.
Dude, I just played a game where I ended up getting dude, like you can't even make it half this stuff up. I got an Orca. I was like, oh my god, they got a Shang-Chi. I was like, of course. It's got to be balanced.
Of course,
it has to balance itself out, or they get like a gladiator room. I combo play like every time, all the time.
It was like the second Snapchat ever. You literally said that X Mansion should only give X-Men cards, and that's been by far the most significant, best change they should ever make to that damn thing. Already that would just minimize the pool, reduce the amount of chaos, and just make it better. So listen to Cozy Snap, damn it. X Mansion only should be X-Men cards. Question number 2 for the mailbag comes from Nicosia, and it reads, do you think Snap will ever adopt a hero or villain system, such as a shield card that gives -1 cost or maybe +1 power to all heroes on your side, or a Hydra card that does the same for villains? I think this would be a cool mechanic since at the end of the day, it's a superhero comic book based game. Cozy, the floor is yours.
So I totally get it. Totally understand it. The only thing I'm worried about is that Marvel is all over the place with heroes and villains and anti-heroes and like Magneto bounces back to help out. That's what I'm worried about. They would need the symbol and they would need to stay that, and then, you know, it's a whole thing there because people do, you know what I mean? People go, I think for the most part there are obvious heroes and villains, but that would be my worry. I would probably want to see the Avenger synergy and stuff, like more definable classes earlier than that. But that to be said, yes to that. I would love to see more group synergy stuff like that, even if it's just small stats.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Like, you know, you play Hydra cards, Viper gets buffed, stuff like that. That would be cool. But you're right. Like, how do you classify Magneto, right? Because he's kind of a hero to some people, a villain to others. He's complex. How would you classify Scarlet Witch?
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of difficult from both comic books and MCU, actually. Yeah. Scarlet Witch is all over the friggin' place. Hard.
Loki to a degree. There's a lot.
Loki's a great example.
There's a lot of these characters, though, and that's the issue. I think that's the prime issue, and it's like, what, like Punisher, if you guys have seen that show, it's like, okay, well, you know, he's doing a lot there, but like, I don't know. I feel like that's where it could be tough. So maybe go more definable classes or whatever. But I do like the suggestion.
This might be a little random, but when I was watching Loki season 2, I was like, they're taking him on the Vegeta story arc. I'm like, he's doing a full Vegeta here.
Oh, Vegeta.
Yeah. I was watching Loki thinking about Vegeta for some reason.
What a comparison, dude. I love it. No, it's actually good. It's a good comparison. Yeah.
But anyways, very cool question. And we actually were just talking about the whole idea of tribe synergies and stuff like that. So really a timely question. And it brings us to our next question from Eric Redden, and it reads, a simple one, and I like it. To celebrate the Power Couples event, who is your favorite Marvel couple?
It's tough. There's actually a lot of iconic ones in there. Like, I always loved the tuck between Jean, Cyclops, and Wolverine. Like, I always loved that arc. I do like Vision and Scarlet Witch. I think ultimately, though, just like, how do I not go Gambit Rogue? I got to go Gambit Rogue, I think. How are you?
Yeah, Gambit Rogue's incredible. For me, my favorite Marvel love story is Cozy Snap and Arrow. But that's a whole other conversation. The fan fiction on that, it falls on either two extremes. It's too soft, a little too hard. It's like, oh man, we need some proper Cozy Arrow fan fiction. But to answer the question more seriously, it's funny. I was gonna say the love triangle of Wolverine, Jean Grey, and Cyclops, to the point where like I'm pretty sure now in some like some clips, like like Jean Grey will kiss Wolverine like on the cheek right in front of Cyclops. She's like, yeah, that's what we do here, I guess.
I can't wait for you to go watch the live actions. Like they don't all hold up, but there's some stuff in there you're like, oh. Like there's a lot they could do there, especially with the new Marvel's future plans going to X-Men. I hope they really bring that to the forefront and have some fun there. Like I don't always like when the heroes are fighting each other, but they don't do it enough. Like the original Avengers, when they had like Thor versus Iron Man, like I loved that. It was so cool to see. And like I would love to see, I think there are some unfair battles. I think ultimately it's like, all right, Wolverine is Cyclops. That'd be something to see, right? We don't want to go to like Superman versus Batman territory where you're like, what's this guy doing against this guy? It's a god versus a man. But yeah, dude, definitely. That's a good pick. Jean Grey, it's a solid tale.
Not necessarily a couple, by the way, but I just want to say, like, in the MCU, I really liked the interactions between Drax and Mantis. I thought that they were always kind of like fun, like friendship, like really, really cool the way that they interact with each other. I always really liked that interaction there. Obviously, Star-Lord Gamora is god tier, absolutely at the top. I haven't seen Guardians 3 yet. It's on the list. It takes me a long time to get through movies, so it's on the list. But so I know that I'm sure that's going to be a fantastic one as well. And I actually have a source of confusion here. So maybe Cozy, you're a little more versed with the lore, but I was super confused when it was Daredevil and She-Hulk that got the buff.
Well, okay, so I totally agree. I already knew this. I sorry to interrupt. Daredevil sleeps around. That's the best way to put it. Like him and Hercules. I think they went with like lawyer vibes maybe for them too or whatever. I'm sure there's a comic where they smash. But I know Daredevil.
She-Hulk smash. That's a funny line. That's gotta be in there eventually, right?
Oh, 100%, right? Yeah, like in the comic style, like they shut the doors like smash. But yeah, I think Daredevil sleeps around. Like Hercules, I know sleeps around. There's a couple of characters that are like notorious for just like they could be synergized with every card in the game. They like their women. But Iron Man to an extent was tamed down a bit in the MCU, but he did too. So I think that's kind of where it's at. They should have gone Elektra there, I guess, but it would have.
Yeah, like literally in the Hero. Okay, I watch the Hero, the Martin Garrix song all the time because my kids love it. And like it's literally there's a scene with like Kingpin laughing and like Elektra and Daredevil grabbing their weapons and like diving to save like Hell's Kitchen, right? It's like, what are we doing, guys? We're all over the place. Anyway, I spilled water all over my keyboard, so my computer's probably about to turn off. So this is probably a good time to end the Snapchat, guys. Thank you so much for all your support. Cozy and I truly appreciate every one of you that supports our content, and we'll see you on that next Snapchat episode.